They were young, they were reckless. The old folks called them foolish, drawn, as so many before, to Blackwood House. Jake the daredevil, Emily the skeptic, Vincent the artist, and Liam, ever the cautious one. Blackwood House stood on a hill overlooking their town, a gothic monstrosity. Locals whispered of tragedy, of madness, of a darkness that clung to its timbers. The friends gathered at the foot of the hill as twilight painted the sky. Autumn leaves swirled around them, an omen, some might say. Jake, brimming with bravado, led the charge. Emily, armed with her camera, documented their every step. Vincent, ever the observer, sketched the house's imposing silhouette. Liam, his heart pounding in his chest, followed. The iron gates groaned as if disturbed after a long slumber. Weeds snaked around their wrought iron teeth. A shiver went down Liam's spine. Something didn't feel right. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a line. One they might not be able to return from. But his friends, emboldened by youthful daring, pressed on. The oak door, heavy and weather-beaten, creaked open. The sound echoed through the house like a mournful sigh. The air inside was cold, stagnant. The scent of decay hung heavy in the air. Dust motes danced in the slivers of moonlight that pierced the gloom. Liam's apprehension intensified. He felt a presence, something unseen watching their every move. The friends moved cautiously through the foyer. Their footsteps echoed on the wooden floor. Cobwebs clung to every surface. Portraits of stern-faced strangers stared down from the walls. Their eyes seemed to follow the intruders. Jake's laughter echoed through the house. He seemed unaffected by the oppressive atmosphere. Vincent stopped before a grand staircase. Its once polished wood was now dull and scratched. At the top of the stairs, a stained glass window depicted a raven. Its eyes, made of crimson glass, seemed to burn. Vincent, captivated, began to sketch. Emily, her camera clicking, documented the house's decay. Liam couldn't shake the feeling of dread. It was growing stronger. He felt a cold spot on his neck. He turned quickly, but there was nothing there, only the shadows. The house seemed to press in on him, whispering secrets he didn't want to hear. Jake, ever the explorer, discovered a hidden door behind a tapestry. He tore the heavy fabric aside, revealing a narrow passage. Excitement mingled with fear in their eyes. "What do you think?" Jake asked, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Emily didn't hesitate. "We have to see what's down there." Liam, his apprehension at its peak, wanted to protest, but the others were already pushing past Jake into the darkness. He had no choice but to follow. The passage opened into a large circular chamber. A single lantern hanging from the center of the high ceiling cast flickering shadows. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay. In the center of the chamber stood a stone pedestal. Upon it rested a wooden box, intricately carved. Ancient symbols, indecipherable and unsettling, adorned its surface. Vincent reached out, his fingers tracing the strange symbols. "This is incredible," he breathed, his voice filled with awe. Liam felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't take his eyes off the box. It seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. The air grew colder. A low hum vibrated through the room. Emily raised her camera, her finger hovering over the shutter button. "Don't," Liam whispered, his voice tight with fear. "Just leave it alone." But it was too late. Emily snapped a photo. A blinding flash filled the chamber. A wave of energy knocked them all back. Liam cried out, his eyes squeezed shut against the sudden light. When he opened them, he saw the box was open. It glowed with an eerie, unnatural light. They gathered around the now open box. It was empty. "What was that?" Emily asked, her voice shaky. Jake laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. "I don't know, but it was awesome." Liam couldn't share their enthusiasm. The room felt different, colder. He could hear whispers, faint and indistinct. They seemed to come from the very walls themselves. Vincent reached into the box, his fingers tracing the velvet lining. "There's something here," he murmured. He pulled out a small silver amulet. It was cold to the touch, intricately carved with the same disturbing symbols as the box. Vincent held it up, examining it closely. As he did, the whispers grew louder. They seemed to coalesce around the amulet, forming words. Words that chilled Liam to the bone. "What does it say?" Emily asked, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. Vincent didn't answer. He seemed transfixed by the amulet. A strange light flickered in his eyes. Liam, his heart pounding in his chest, reached out and touched Vincent's arm. "Vincent," he said, his voice urgent, "let's just go, please." Vincent looked at Liam, his eyes vacant. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Instead, a low growl emanated from his throat, a growl that seemed to shake the very foundations of the house. Then, Vincent smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was cold, predatory. The whispers reached a fever pitch, swirling around Vincent like a vortex of darkness. And then, just as suddenly, they stopped. The amulet in Vincent's hand dimmed. The room fell silent. Vincent blinked, looking around at the others as if seeing them for the first time. "What?" he asked, his voice slurred. He looked down at the amulet in his hand, then back at the others. "What is this?" Relief washed over Liam. "It's okay," he said, placing a hand on Vincent's shoulder. "Let's just go. We can figure this out later." They turned to leave the chamber, but the passage was gone. The tapestry that had concealed it was gone. They were trapped. Panic flared in Emily's eyes. "What do we do?" she asked, her voice high-pitched. Jake tried the wall where the passage had been, pushing against it with all his might. But it was no use. They were sealed in. Vincent began to laugh. It was a high-pitched, hysterical sound that chilled Liam to his core. "Don't you see?" Vincent said, his voice filled with a strange glee. "It's a game. We have to play his game." Liam's blood ran cold. "Whose game?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Vincent didn't answer. He was staring at a point just beyond Liam's shoulder. His eyes were wide with terror. "No," he whispered. "No, please, not me." A cold wind swept through the chamber. The lantern flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Liam cried out, reaching for Vincent, but his hand closed on empty air. Vincent was gone.